Hey, just want to talk about this. Kind of relates to the video that I did about blaming God, and it's sort of an extension. Um, we got asked a question. We accept responsibility, we accept accountability, but now how are we gonna fix things, right? How are we gonna fix the world? How are we gonna fix Africa and the poverty? I mean, here's where it is. There's there's poverty, and there's war, and there's disease. Those three things kind of constitute the biggest challenges, the biggest problems for the world, right, and for the human race. Now, charities. Okay, but let's look at charities. The problem with charities is they're highly under-resourced, they're underfunded, and they may go to these faraway countries, Zimbabwe and South Africa and Egypt and Bombay and Indonesia and Jakarta. They may go everywhere, but their effect is minimal compared to the problems, right? They may go there and install a few power generators, but when we're talking about a whole district that needs power, it's not enough, right? They may go they may go there and install some water utilities, but when we're talking about a whole town that needs regular fresh water, and a distribution channel for that water, it's not enough. And this seems to be the recurring trend, uh, the recurring kind of notion that there's just too much to fix, and the charities don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources, they don't have the flexibility, right? In terms of politics, in terms of political flexibility, they can't sway governments, right? And they can't win votes and stuff like that without going through these arduous processes, and they're always competing against the capitalists, right? So here's a solution, and I want to put it out there because I'm not sitting here with infinite funds. I'm not a multi-millionaire. And I need someone. Well, basically, it needs to come out there so that a philanthropist, a humanitarian, someone who has the finances, the money, the resources, the connections, might actually go, you know what, this guy's talking sense, this is a really good idea, let's put something into motion, and hey, I'm contributing to try and get the human race back up to paradigm. So this is what it is. It's called a Social Corp, right? And that's short for Social Corporation, and their agenda is construction, right? Because what does the world need? What does Africa need? What does India, Indonesia, Malaysia, what do these places need the most? Infrastructure, right? If you give them infrastructure, you alleviate 90% of the poverty, and then you start creating economic growth, right? If towns have power generators, it means people can have electricity. It means people can have sanitation. They can run hot water. They can use electricity for a variety of whatever they need, for communication, for whatever they need. If they have bridges, they can create food distribution networks. If they have everything that we take for granted here, if they have there, then it's going to alleviate so much poverty. I'm talking about major, large-scale construction projects. So, these social corps are going to go to, let's say, Africa, and they're going to build, power pylons, and power generators. They're going to build some nuclear power generators, and they're gonna give power to loads of towns. They're gonna build, hospitals and transportation and everything, that is lacking. Why? Okay, so why would a corporation do that, right? Because right now we're in a situation where no corporation wants to do that because there's no cheddar involved. It's like, okay, I go to Africa and I build all this shit, right? But what do I get in return? The African government's not going to pay me my fucking bill, which is going to come to like 2.9 billion, right? The African people don't have the money to foot my bill, so why the fuck should I do it, right? Well, as a social corporation, you're going to get funded, right, by various pools. You're going to get funded by philanthropists, humanitarians, charities, venture capitalists, governments. You're going to have a pool of different funds that go into your fund that you can use for your construction work, right? And you can even get creative here, because you can even create some kind of like future commodity or future trading what's the word, mechanism, like like a bond or something, whereby you can back that bond based on economic growth, in the work that you've done. So say you go to again Africa, we go down to Zimbabwe, we fix up Zimbabwe, and the economic growth of Zimbabwe triples, right, in the next 10 years, because of the direct construction work, infrastructure work that's been carried out by Social Corps. So that bond will triple in value, and that then can be sold to whoever, to people who, well, whatever, investors or stockbrokers or whatever, people who trade in that kind of mechanism. So that's a kind of a financial way that it's going to actually be profitable for the social corps, because they get funded and they get to keep some of that funding as an incentive. Once they've completed their, maybe they make a 10% commission, and they can have this future trading bond, right, based on the economic growth of countries that they've helped. So these social corps, there's not just me one. Think about hundreds of them, and simultaneously working to fix the world, and to carry out all these infrastructure projects. Now, they're going to be more. They're going to function like a corporation, so they're going to have more capital. They're going to have more, flexibility than a charity. They're going to be more funded, more resourced. They're going to be more. They're going to have higher political status, so they can lobby more, and they can overturn some of these ridiculous laws in these countries that stop you building on the land. No, you can't touch this land. It's why not? Why the fuck not? Why can't you build generators on this land? Why can't you build hospitals on this land? It's bullshit. That those laws need to be overturned, but you need weight, you need clout. So corporate clout can help kind of alleviate these stupid rules. And then so now we're fixing the problem with these social corps, right? And they'll hire people, just as normal corporations hire people, and they'll pay them a good salary because they'll have a pool of fund, right? So we're talking about getting the best, getting contractors from Germany, getting contractors from Japan, getting contractors from America. We're talking about from Scandinavia and England. We're talking about getting the best, right, to actually go and engineer, solve these infrastructural problems that are causing all this widespread poverty. Think about all the people living in shanty towns. That's a challenge for any engineer to come along and say, hold on a second, if we built like a complex of housing, we could get rid of half of all this of all this kind of crap, people living in shanty towns, right? And they can have a sanitary housing, and then we could fuel economic growth, because once the poverty goes, people then have money, and an economy can start. So it's a self-fixing problem, right? You just have to get it up to the level where you can kickstart an economy, and then it will just snowball, right? So there's another problem, And that is the you say the corruption. So if these social corps carry out all this work, and then some militia come along and seize the assets, they start seizing the hospitals and seizing the generators and saying, no, fuck off, you pay us a license fee, some retarded, really overpriced, completely scandalous license fee to use this infrastructure. Well, that's why you have to start getting intelligence agencies together, and we need to start getting CIA and MI5 together, and other Interpol and other intelligence agencies to basically deploy agents on the ground in these countries to ensure that the militia don't get their hands on the good stuff, right? That it's there for the people. It's funded by the social corps. It's implemented by the social corps. Ultimately, it's owned by the social corps, but they're not going to profit from it because they're already getting their funds. They're already taking their commission. They don't need to profit from the assets, if you see what I mean. So these agents are going to be in the ground, and they're going to be monitoring people who are trying to cut deals here and there and trying to kind of trying to deceive the people and trying to kind of line their own pockets. And look, man, if a few hit jobs need to happen, they need to happen. If there's some guy who wants to fuck everything up for everyone else and millions of people, take the fucker out. It's that simple, right? So once you take the head of the Hydra off, who's to say that there's going to be there's a limited amount of brains, in the outfit. Not everyone's going to be the brains, and once you take out the brains, you're increasing your chances of keeping peace and security in the area. And without war, I mean, this you don't need to bomb a country shitless. You just need to deploy agents on the ground, intelligence operatives to actually figure out who the fuck is calling the shots and fucking shit up, right? And then take them out strategically, like Black Ops, right? I mean, you don't need to bomb the citizens and fuck up all the country and bomb the infrastructure, and you get what I'm saying, right? So this is, a way we can start. It's by social corps, and by having intelligence on the ground at the same time. And we're talking about loads of companies, social corps existing simultaneously, and I mean, we're talking about getting contractors from the best of the world. So it's not just going to be one charity having to do everything, or a few charities having to do everything, bear the whole burden of the world on their shoulders. And look, if the charities want to get involved, they can. They can send people to the social corps. People can be seconded and stuff. So that's just my views on how we can start fixing shit. And the more we, I guess, think about it, the more we postulate on it, the more we contemplate on it, the better. Because ultimately, a world without war and poverty and disease is a better world for everyone. Not you're just, and I'm coming to this point, this next point, which is, when someone says, oh look, all this poverty and shit, it doesn't affect me because it's not happening in my backyard. It's not affecting me personally. I can get up, have my coffee, go to work, read my newspaper, go for a meal, do what I do, and this poverty, millions starving and shit, it's just a statistic. It doesn't affect me personally. But hold on a second. We got to get past that, because sooner or later your shit in your backyard's gonna fuck up as well, and you're gonna need help, right? And if we're saying, look, fuck the developing nations now, what happens in the future if there's some war in Europe or in America, and Europe gets fucked. It has been fucked already. There's been 2 world wars, right? Wouldn't we need help from outside, right, to rebuild Europe, to rebuild America if something happened? So if we've got the attitude now of like, fuck them, we don't really need to bother about them, then when we're in a crisis and we need their help, hey, guess what? They're going to say, well, fuck you, because you never helped us when we were in need, and now you want us to help you. Don't always take for granted that we're going to be the ones at the top sitting pretty, because right now everything could change. China's coming up, India's coming up. In the next 50 years, the whole global dynamic can completely change. The economic powers can be completely different. The shift of power could take place, and there might be some widespread poverty in Europe, in America, and we might need their fucking help, right? So look, if we turn our back on them now, then they could turn their back on us when we need it in the future. So it works mutually to give a shit about what's happening to your neighbor, right? Because in the end, you want your neighbor to give a shit about what's happening to you as well, right? We can't sit on our thrones thinking we're going to have it pretty forever, right? So that's the reason we should care. And yeah, I guess that's just what I wanted to kind of say. It takes kind of looking beyond ourselves and seeing a bigger perspective and having empathy. And it kind of goes on to another point about terrorism, and a lot of people, young people, are becoming terrorists, right? And why is that? Because they're angry. Why are they angry? It's because when they look around, if you're a guy from Iraq, you could be a nice guy from Iraq, and you look around and your country's in war torn, and there's no opportunities, and there's troops everywhere, and you're thinking, what the fuck is going on? And people are just saying, oh, you're a fucking terrorist, get lost, and treating you like shit. Aren't you just going to be like, well, look, if the world is turning its back on me and calling me a terrorist and fucking treating me like some degenerate, when I'm a real human, and I'm just seeing my country going to shit, aren't you going to be filled with fucking anger? I mean, especially when the leaders of the free world are talking, they talk shit, right? They don't seem to address the point. There's a lot of young people angry that their country is going to shit, and they're becoming terrorists because of that, because no one cares. Now, if these social corps go to places like the Middle East and fix the infrastructure and create economic development, then these young people are not going to have a reason to be angry. They'll have opportunities. There'll be hospitals. They can go to work. They can study. They can have lives. They can support their families. They're not going to be in this condition of strife and hate that's happening now. And why can't we see that they need care and attention, and that's what they really need, and that's why you get angry, because no one gives you the care and attention you need, and it turns you into these violent people, right? So we've got to address the systemic root of why young people are turning to the dark side, if you want to call it that, and it's not because of religion, really. It's far-fetched, that it's religion. It's because they're angry about the situation in their country, right? And especially if the West is kind of bullying them, saying, look, if you don't do this, then we're going to blow you up. And come on, man, you can't blow up countries to find a solution. It's just going to cause more rife, and you're just going to create 10 times more the problem. What if if it gets so bad that every other day a bomb is going off in New York, in London, and wherever, Frankfurt? Are you going to be happy? and you're gonna say, well, look, man, because we took the wrong approach here. We decided to fight fire with fire when we could have just helped them and fixed their country up, and they wouldn't have a need to feel angry anymore. And that's where the Social Corp comes into effect again. And another area the Social Corp can come into effect is the refugee problem. You know, you're getting all these refugees from Africa, from India, from Mexico, and from everywhere. And people are saying, hold on a second, well, it's not our problem. We have to deal with these refugees. We've got to pay them benefits and house them. Hold on a second. If they had an economy in their countries, if they had housing in their countries, you know, they wouldn't need to come on boats and come to Europe and, you know, and just be like, hey, help us out, you know, give us benefit and housing. You know, they wouldn't have to disturb our precious lifestyles, because they're gonna, you know, have places to live, and, you know, they're gonna have an economy, and it's because of the Social Corps are gonna go there and build that, right? So again, you could say, look, hold on a second, why can't they build it themselves? Look, the problem is they can't, because the corruption, right? you know, you go down to India and you're asking, you ask someone what's going on with the funds, right? The public funds. And you'll see so much bullshit that a lot of it's getting channeled to private enterprises. A lot of it is not getting channeled where it should go. It's not, you know, there's not enough resources for people to give a shit about fixing the whole shantytown crisis and you know, vaccinating you know, kids and stuff like that. There's just not enough you know, funds because it's being, you know, it's been corruptly you know, deviated from where it should be going, you know, and it's going into the wrong people's hands, you know, because it's the money, it's they're getting bribed, you know. Some rich guy comes along and says, look, you know, forget about this constructing these shanty towns, it's not going to be much profit, you know, like, fuck that, let's build some super malls in Bombay, right? You know, that's going to be far more profitable. And the guy's thinking, oh, but it's not morally right, you know, and the money really should go to improving the poverty crisis. And then the guy goes, well, listen, I'll slip you a couple million, and you just say the project fell through and we're doing some other shit now. And the guy's like, okay, you slip me a couple of million, and you know, the project will look completely different on the spec sheet. So that's what's going on. The corruption, and it's going on everywhere. Africa, it's just, you know, Indonesia, it's corruption. These people are just getting paid off not to give a fuck, you know, and Social Corps are not going to be a victim to corruption, right? They're not going to be bribed. You know, we're talking about getting very honorable, moral people with principles. It's going to have a foundation of, you know, of having higher principles and higher morals, and it's not gonna to fall to corruption. And hey, look, if you got intelligence agencies on the ground, you can have intelligence agents within the Social Corps to make sure people ain't fucking around, right, and taking bribes here and there. And if they are, they're out, right? You won't know. I mean, look, you know, you won't know who's an agent, who's not. You know, I mean, these guys are such pros. They can blend in, camouflage with anyone, but secretly they can keep in taps on you, and, you know, if you get out of line, you know, you're gone. So look, that's what we need, right? Because it's not effective enough the way it is with charities and a bit of funding and a bit of relief work here and there. It's just not good enough. And as the population grows, the problem is going to get worse, right? People are going to need more housing, more power, more water, more vaccinations, more hospitals. Think about it. So we need to start something serious, like with clout, with something with real muscle, right, to tackle this issue. And I think Social Corps are perfect for it. And yeah, if you got an additional idea to that, I'd like to hear it. But look, if you're in a position where you can get some shit rolling, you can get people together, you can use your connections, you can start putting together some organization that's going to facilitate building infrastructure in impoverished countries, then this is my message to you. Okay, and I'm trying to do what I can as a good human to pass on a message, because it's going to get lost if I don't say it, and I could have just remained quiet like everyone else, not give a shit, or I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not gonna, I'm not starting some great company here. You get what I mean? I'm saying this because I want to be a good human and for my voice to be heard, and you should do the same, because we need to communicate more about change and making a better world. Because if we don't communicate it, it's lost. We just remain silent, and no one can feel it. No one can act on it. It's never out there. It's not in the universe. It's just mute inside of you, right? And hey, if you've got the love, man, if you feel it in your heart, maybe you've got it for a reason. God gave it to you for a reason, so you could shine the light, share it. And look, if I had the money, I would start this myself. I would pump millions into Social Corp if I had the money. And look, my plan is to get rich. And as if when I get rich off my music, or of my other creative avenues, I'm gonna start this up. But look, in that time, if you've got the money, all I'm saying is start up some Social Corps. Thank you.